Thank you for having us today. My name is Amin, and I am trying to research organizational factors related to smart cities, information security. And my presentation today is to tell you about my progress and how I'm planning to move forward. So in a smart city environment, we hear about them all the day. It's about becoming smarter in all means, whether culturally, whether intelligently, whether in the infrastructure, whether in the education, whether in the human capital itself, and having participation from the citizens. There are all sorts of ways for becoming and methods for becoming smarter. One issue here is that all of this has a huge dependence on information security. And in our current world, and you can probably check out the news, there are all sorts of news about information security issues affecting our lives, whether personally, on our own devices. They have cameras, they have personal files, our own secrets, etc. Or professionally in our enterprises, organizations, etc., etc. There were just recent news about the attacks through Shamoon. I think you probably have heard about them in the news. They happened in Saudi, and they targeted 20 different organizations, governments, etc. And this is all part of the issues related to information security. My focus here is not within security itself, because that was really research in the literature. There's a lot about that. But mostly it's about the management of these information security issues. How can we control and how can we maintain all of these issues within our hands? Because in a smart city environment where cars and buildings are all dependent on the infrastructure and on the digital technologies, stopping these will have a lot of problems, will cause a lot of problems for these for the citizens, and could even escalate to life loss, etc. So we move forward. My research problem is the following. In case of mismanagement, in current organizations, we have the whole business or the whole services of an organization being threatened, whether from a financial perspective, from a reputational perspective, or from a productivity even perspective. Example, in a bank, when something happened related to information services, then let's say online banking is blocked, the whole business is affected. So if we put this into the context of a smart city, we will be having much bigger issues that will impact us all. And the goal in my research is to identify inside an organization what are the factors, the organizational factors, that will be most influential to decision making or to management of the information security. Because these will define what will happen in case of a breach or an incident, and how it will be dealt with. And these will be very important for the business itself and for the clients of the organization. So currently, I'm almost done with my literature, and I will just highlight in a few words the most important findings. And I think you probably find it logical that information security management is very important for smart city organizations. This is actually not very well defined in the literature. And this was one of our first activities in this work, to highlight the importance of information security management in the context of smart cities and smart city organizations. Afterwards, I started studying the organizational factors that influence information security management, starting from current organizations, and then I'm trying to move that within the context of smart cities. I mentioned here like multiple like really good papers that highlight, for example, von Solms and von Solms. The title of the paper is "The 10 Deadly Sins of Information Security Management." It's that much critical. The second one is about information security in smart cities and the important issues around these. This is an IEEE paper. And then there is Shourabi et al., which talks about the importance of governance, management, and the right decisions in a smart city context, and the importance of the technology management. Shourabi et al., they highlight the lack of literature around the management issues related to the smart city context, because most of the research is done by or pushed by big vendors because they want to sell their solutions, and so big vendors will push for technical type of research rather than the management type of research. Shourabi et al., by the way, is a conference paper, but I mention it here because it's very important. When I started working on this in 2013, it had something around 50 citations. Now it has around 700. And it developed into multiple journal papers by Shourabi and his colleagues in the research. So, last but not least, there is a citation which has also been referenced well in the literature by Bellicent from Forrester. And the core of a smart city must be smart governance. So we have two main issues: governance and information security, and both of them are critical to the operations of, or the safe operations of a smart city environment or the smart city organizations. And so the information security management will then be even the most, or almost the most critical thing within the smart city environment. I move forward. This is just from yesterday. Doing a bit of Scopus research, just a few keywords, smart city and information security, you'll find a lot of good stuff on Scopus and outside. Actually, on outside, you'll probably find hundreds of documents, more than 22. But in the literature, and specifically related to smart cities and information security management, on Scopus, there's no results. And that was just from yesterday. Even though it is being highlighted as an important problem. So I'll accelerate so I can reach the focus of my current work, which is the research model. So the research moved from literature review around the organizational aspects in the smart city and the information security aspects in the smart city, and then the interrelations in between these aspects. And I was able to highlight, for example, the importance of information security management in the smart city context and its impact on the organizational performance. Moving forward, I concluded in the literature in two tables, specifically to my work. The smart city organizational factors. So from the literature, what are the factors that influence an organizational behavior? This is the first table. And the second table is the information security management organizational factors, and this is specific to current organizations. That's the furthest I was able to get in the literature because there's not much around this topic. The goal of all of this is to finally be able to correlate certain organizational factors, a list of these organizational factors that will be influential towards information security management in the context of smart city organizations. I'm listing these tables here. I'm not expecting you to be able to read anything, but so the first table is the information security management organizational factors in current or modern organizations. This is all collected and correlated from the literature with a third, actually, with a third level, which is the frequency of citation in the literature. And on the right here, you can find the smart city organizational factors. So these are the factors that influence a smart city organizational behavior. Based on these, And I was able to select 10 factors, which I believe will be the most influential on the information security management in the context of smart city organizations. And this is part of my conceptual model. And I will be testing forward, like I will be using these to test, to verify the organizational factors and see their influence and their impact on the information security management. The whole context is, again, the smart city organization. Part of it will be based on empirical work. So the upper layer of arrows is actually related to the empirical work that will be done. And the arrow down is justified from the literature. So this is related to highlighting information security management. So the contribution from the literature about highlighting information security management in the context of smart city organizations. Final words. So I did mention that there are different levels of contribution in the work. Sorry. One is from the literature around highlighting the topic as an important theme that should be more researched and more studied. On a second level, the empirical work will also help us to identify and highlight the most influential organizational factors on the smart city organization and see how they interrelate. Or, for example, in the case of a questionnaire, we'll be able probably to see the different responses from in between, for example, information security professionals and information security managers. And probably this will also add to the significance of the research around how can we move forward. We're all in a region that is moving forward towards smart cities, and we need to, this could be of help towards highlighting the biggest issues that we need to deal with and we need to resolve. Because in a smart city environment, we cannot handle disasters related to technology, because then we will lose our trust in technology and we will stop using it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mohamed, for your presentation. So now we can take some questions.
I have a question. I read this with some interest. Can you have one without the other?
One of what?
Good question. That's entirely my point. So there's several things you're saying here. Smart cities, governance, information system security, many other factors, which are dependent upon each other. I was trying to get a sense of dependency here, but I'm not sure if I understood
All right.
what you were saying. So could you give us a short sentence with what is the focus of the research?
All right. So I'm trying to identify organizational factors. Example, leadership attitude. All right, as an organizational factor, and its influence on information security management. Okay, and the context is the smart city organizations. So there are a lot of organizational factors defined in the literature for current organizations and connected to information security management. But then the context of smart cities is not here. And smart cities bring whole new problems related to organizations and even different models of businesses inside a city. And so these will be having different type of issues related to information security management. What I'm trying to highlight is the factors. The focus of my work is identifying the factors that will be most influential in this scope. Does that?
So the last bit that you said is the most important.
Sorry?
The last bit that you said is the most important.
Okay.
The last few words. So I would encourage you to rehearse and make sure your statement is very clear. Try to avoid the justification and then the answer. Tell us what you really mean first, and then you can say everything afterwards. So, as I understood it, your research is about the factors which smart city organizations need to take into account in terms of information security?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I like to follow up on Mia's point, because I saw you made a very interesting presentation, but I'm constantly thinking, okay, what are the key factors that you're going to talk about? And I feel like the first 10 minutes, it was always emphasizing that it is really important we look into this. And I was like, okay, I'm persuaded. Now tell me, what are the key findings? And you skip to the last 2 slides really quickly. But they are actually the really interesting bits that you need to spend a lot more time explaining to us, because that's your findings. And also, if I can comment on your last slide, which is you have all these antecedents there. And I'm just thinking maybe you could group them, not this one, the one before.
This?
Yeah, maybe you could group them. So there will be macro level factors, there will be organizational factors, there will be individual citizen type of factors. So maybe you could use a macro-micro perspective to help your audience better understand your key findings from your literary review.
All right. Yes, it's the right time to do so.
And so, on the other hand, what you're saying and your research is incredibly significant. And this goes back to the discussion we had this morning that was raised by Professor Amar, who said something around, we have to make sure that the research is relevant. So this actually is really, really important, what you're saying. But I think what you might want to do is, as Dorothy has highlighted and as I've highlighted as well, is think about how you can present it in a more accessible form. Right now it seems we are struggling to
Reach
reach
the point.
The point where we can see, okay.
Could I add a comment on that? Because I'm not a specialist, all right? So I sit on lots of grant awarding bodies, and I see grants like this or pieces of work like this the whole time. And it's very, very difficult if you're not a specialist. So I need some examples, and I need some sort of really clear pointers, I think, to pick up what both Amir and Dorothy have said. Because otherwise, almost those very good conclusions at the end, which are actually really interesting, you get lost. I don't understand precisely how this is going to work for me. So one really smart example would actually really help cement this and make it much more accessible. And one of the things that's definitely changing for us as academics is we have to be able to go out and talk to other audiences than other academics. It's become such a key skill. It's not just policymakers, but almost all of the big grant-making bodies these days no longer necessarily have academic experts on them. They're often made up of a very, very wide range of people. Yeah? So you might just want to think about that.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, please, last question.
Yeah, hello. Building upon what Professor James said, I would fundamentally question information security management, be it a village management or a smart city management, is equally important in any context. How would a smart city be different from a village management or anything? And how would information system security management will be less important in a village compared to a smart city?
All right. So the answer is the following. How much time do we have? 1.5 minutes. 90 seconds. I'll do my best. Sir, in a village environment, you don't have the complexity of managing an urban environment with millions of cars and all connected things. In a village environment, it's less complicated and it's less of a headache to be managed. Actually, in a village environment, you probably will not find as much technology and development as you will be finding in a city. In a city, you will also be having urban problems such as congestion of traffic, and these are all possible to manage through digital technologies. Managing traffic, managing street lights. In a small environment, they are not as relevant and they are not as critical. Does that answer?
I don't agree.
Tell me.
Because information security is very, very important in every context. The reason is today's smart city is tomorrow's smart village. In some places, smarter villages are there than cities. And there are more complicated problems in villages than cities, where information system security management is less visible and less capable to address.
True.
I think that might be true in rural areas where you've got a an explosion of social media and handheld, smartphone devices, I think you're probably right in some respects. So you might have smart cities which are made of lots of smart villages, maybe. Interesting point.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mohamed Hasbini, for your presentation.
Thank you for your
Thank you very
time.
much.
Thank you.